go into any part of a rural area where there's beautiful, huge trees and there's maybe no cell phone reception, it's just this gorgeous nature-based space. For a lot of white folks, it's like, this is utopia, this is heaven. And for people of the global majority, it can be also powerful too, but there's also a layer that I've been processing for a long time, I say almost 10 years now, of what we call tree material, lynching material, of what it means for Black folks specifically to be next to and around these trees in white controlled spaces. Just that alone, but there's a lot of echoes around that, around sexuality, the Black root. But I say that because when I talk about integration, to bring that kind of awareness into a community that might not have asked any of these questions for a period of, say, 10 years, a period of 5 years, even a period of 12 months, I've never asked that question or really analyzed that, it might feel like new information to them. It might even feel like a little bit of fictitious behavior, other than the fact that they find Black folks struggle with showing up for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons might be there's some low-key trauma there. I said low-key, it's not low-key, it's huge trauma, but it might not show up as big. For me, even when I found out about myself, I was like, I grew up and I never went camping as a family. My parents never took me out to nature. It was not something my cousins ever did. Our church events never were to go to the forest. What was up with that? And I saw my counterparts, other white churches that were more like white populated churches, totally out in nature, at ponds, on the river, doing river events. And it's like, it wasn't only economics, there was some trauma there, some water trauma and some tree trauma that wasn't even addressed. And so I say that what I do is I do intentional integration. I don't come in with a plan of like, this was gonna happen. I come in with a observation ear. I come to listen. I come to track the trauma stories that are present in any given space, and then build some custom awareness to a conversation that's more listening, to build out a plan, build out some strategies, to build out some thinking, some co-thinking. I don't think for anyone, I think with everyone, to create a space so that we can start to ask questions that oftentimes aren't asked in white controlled spaces, or aren't oftentimes even challenging the status quo. And so that's kind of what I do. I try and go in there and not like rock the boat. I try and take the boat and expand it and build some more timber under the bottoms where it can handle some rougher waters. I try and add some different rooms people can go to and have safe spaces. And so when the boat starts to rock, it's not just being rocked, it has resources to sustain itself. And so for me, that's kind of how I look at going to a space, is I want to try and build those kind of energetic containers within communities that have the potential, that have the raw material, because of privilege and because of lack of diversity, that's never been assembled and put together. And so for me, that's one of my desires in any community, but specifically cultures that are doing profound, beautiful, tender work in nature-based spaces and are not integrated.
Yes, something that what you talked about evokes for me is the value of truth and exposing what's always been there, what's always been true, what's been beneath the leaf, beneath the soil even, but has been an integral part of the way a space works. It's like this tree material has been there for some folks, for some Black folks that have shown up at New Culture events, but I learned about it from you. Like, I didn't know it was there. And to me, that is sacred work. This moving towards truth, even if it's difficult, even and when it's uncomfortable, because like truth brings healing, truth brings connection, truth brings real harmony rather than fake postured harmony that ignores truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Real intimacy,
Yes.
real connection,
Yeah.
real safety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
That's real. Mm. Mm.
And just because connection's the last word that I said, I know, at least in your bio, you say that a big part of your dismantling white supremacy work is from that place of deep, real connection. And anything you want to say about that?
Oh, yeah, totally. There's a song that my little sister, right under me, I'm in the middle of 5, right under me, wrote, and it's on her album right now. And there's a phrase in there I have been using in my morning meditations I've been on traveling for the last 13 days. And it says, lay your heart on my soul. lay your heart on my soul. And I was talking to her about it because I was driving up here. I was driving up here by myself, and 10 hours by myself in the car. And I'm talking to her, and I say, like, what do you mean? Like, I kind of hear what you mean, but can you tell me what you mean when you say lay your heart on someone's soul? And she's like, I'm trying to get words that describe the maximum closeness. Like, can you get closer to someone's heart laying on your soul? And if that's happening, she said, we're talking about that. I said, I hear that. Oppression can't fit in between that.
Ah,
All the isms can't fit when you lean your heart on somebody's soul. That is a form of resistance. Capitalism, racism, all those isms are trying to do what we kind of came to earth doing. When we come into the earth, our soul is leaning on our mother's soul. That's like how we came into the world. And I think what happens is when we get out into the world, it starts to realize that we have to remember that. I'm gonna be clear that we know how to dismantle all these oppressions. It's in our body. And one of the things I say about connection is I just want to remind us how connected we can be, right? I remember I was sitting across from an elder. She was like maybe in her 70s or maybe late 60s, white person. And we were practicing holding each other's hand because the prompt wasn't this kind of deep dive was, if you've never held the hand of a Black man just in your life, that I'm in this workshop, I want to invite you just to, for the first time, come over and hold my hand and just be with me. Well, I think I had a question that came in, it was a while ago. We were in the city of Oakland. She comes over, she's holding my hand, and she's like, Aaron, I can't believe I've been in the city of Oakland all these years. I'm in my 70s. I've never held the hand of a Black man for more than 3 minutes and had any kind of attention for it. Just never done it. I didn't think about it. I just, until you prompted the question, there's a list of people, it was maybe a room of 12. I think about 7 of them had never done it in their entire life. And we're sitting there holding hands. She said, your hands are so soft and they're this, and I'm just noticing I'm feeling nervous and I'm feeling all these feelings. I'm just, wow, this is what? And we're having this moment recognizing the power of just being close, right? Now, we had a bunch of different things around that topic and the workshop was going powerful, but what we found is that she says, I have been arrested at protests on behalf of Black folks. I have donated thousands of dollars on behalf of Black folks. And I've never took the time to create an environment where I could sit and actually hold and be close and notice them. She said it was easy to march because the whole city was marching. It was easy to donate money because we all needed reparations to that place and to help the cause. So, but what I realized, it was a much more bigger challenge to recognize what it meant in myself to slow my life down, to track all my traumas and all the propaganda I've received and realize, can I actually practice being close? So to me, connection is a foundational block to holistic resistance. It's a foundational block of what I'm talking to you right now. Deep, human, authentic connection is not something that is common. We have mass media, filmmaking, all of it, but we don't have a practice of listening. And listening is oxygen to connection, right? So people are like, oh, I love connection. They have no attention to listen. You aren't connecting. So for me, I recognize that oftentimes when I go into any white community, I go into any collective group, I always track what is the attention. Is this a listening community? Or as soon as we say the word racism, the ears just shrivel up, the attention drops, or the fragility comes in and starts plugging the ears up, or do they have attention? Their ability to listen is equivalent to their ability to be connected, right? And I've been amazed that I've seen a lot of performance of connection, but there's not a lot of listening. I think consent is a good example. When I think how consent is taught, it's hard to teach consent if listening is not a part of it, right?
totally.
We just can't do it. We can't do it. So I look at that concept because people, oh, I get that part. I can hear really well around consent. The teacher can, and then they get racism. Oh, I can't hear. I'm confused. I can't hear. What did you mean? What did you mean? I don't understand what you meant, Aaron, because now I'm having a hearing because all of a sudden my defenses are here in the way, right? I've been in a similar boat, right? In my journey, learning about my patriarchy, my own listening is important. So my point is that when I talk about connection, it's a code word for listening, right? And then it's not only a code word, there's a level that they're almost blended together, almost inseparable. And so for me, I look at resistance, when I look at oppression, look at these horrific images of lynching. I spent a whole time teaching my workshop, The United of the Black Brute, and I've spent a lot of time with lynching imagery. The last 6 weeks, I've been studying them almost every day for multiple hours a day to get into the history that has been undertaught to me. I look at it and I notice that what's really powerful is the stories the newspapers would tell that would justify a biblical reason of why we have to hang this person of the majority, or particularly Black man, for a false accusation. Why God is a story. It's the story that they listened to that justified many years of carnage that we're trying to not hear anymore. So I say that because When I look at this mass eating in buffalo, it's the stories that this man was taking into his body that helped stoke the fire to cause the carnage that we have to deal with it. And there's more stories being get out, and we want to tell new stories and have ears that can listen to those new stories to stop this kind of carnage. So when I talk about connection, it is a foundational piece. It is a foundational piece of everything that's going forward. People always go, Aaron, well, what books do you recommend? What podcasts do you recommend? And I'm a big fan of podcasts. I'm a big fan of books. But I say, what good is a good book? What good is a good podcast if you're not listening? So the question I have is not what you're reading, it's how are you flexing, analyzing your listening ear? And that one listening